Okay, so I decided to create a new video to try to pull all the combinations of commands about blocks together in a smaller, concentrated video. In the past, I've created a drawing and then I use blocks. For this one, I'm going to go right into it. So start a brand new drawing and then save it as the assignment number and then my blocks with your name and last initial. So here's an example. I saved this one as assignment 7, which is 7 for this class, but maybe not for another one. My blocks, Janice G. And that's going to be the drawing that you submit because we're going to use this kind of as our palette. So once you create a brand new drawing and you save the file, put it in your folder and call it whatever the assignment number is, my blocks, and then your name and last initial, we're going to go ahead and turn off the grid down at the bottom, which is what I usually do right next to model right there. Click on that icon. And now we're going to look at the topic of blocks. Now, when we talk about blocks, we're talking about any objects that are gathered together and stored someplace so that you can bring them into your drawing easily. So if you use something over and over and over again, you don't, keep drawing it over and over again, right? You put it into a library somewhere and then you pull it into your drawing. So the bigger picture of using blocks is that you can insert one file into another. You're basically taking another drawing file and inserting into this one. And that's what we're going to start with. So notice here that we only have layer 0 because this is a brand new drawing. When we bring in blocks, the layers are created that were in the original drawing. I need to explain to you that we are in a blank drawing and we're going to take another drawing into this one. So what we're going to do as a class is go to Canvas, download the file that I posted for this week, so that what we're going to do is insert that file. We're going to use insert here under blocks. But for those people who are watching this video that don't have that file on hand here, I'll show you where it's at. Okay, we're not opening it though, right? We're inserting it into this drawing. So if we went here to the big A at the top left, we're going to go down to open and then sample files and install sample files. Now you can do this with me if you'd like to see other files that you can open and kind of practice with. You'll have a list of all these different folders that have different files that kind of go with the tutorials and things that Autodesk provides. So I'm showing you the location of it in case you don't have it in Canvas. So with the file that we're working with, where I got it from was under sample, database, connectivity, and then this is the floor plan right here. This is the floor plan sample file that you can find in Canvas for you to download. So this is not a file that we're opening. I'm going to go ahead and close out of this. I just want to show you the path of it. It's program files, Autodesk, AutoCAD 2022 or whatever release you're using, because these are in the same location, sample, and then here. Now like I said, there are a lot of other files in the sample folders if you wanted to browse through and take a look. I am going to cancel out of this because I'm not opening it. I'm back at just this one open. You can see the tabs. I didn't open up that file. That would be if you don't have access to Canvas to get that file. Okay, so now we're going to insert that file into this drawing. So we'll go to insert and we're still in the home tab. We're going to go to blocks from libraries. Now you may have a dialog box here that you'll pick browse if you're using a different release, and you can do that if you'd like. This new release has these palettes that I'll talk to you about in a little bit, and there's an icon right here that we might use, or in this drop down there's the same icon right there, browse block libraries, here or here. Go ahead and select that. Now you're going to go back to whatever the last folder was that you left it on, and because you're downloading that file, that floor plan sample file, you're going to navigate at this point over to that file so that you can bring it in. Now if you'd like to navigate here, program files, Autodesk, AutoCAD 2022 sample, and then database connectivity. And now I'm going to go ahead and double click on the floor plan sample drawing. Now it takes a minute for it to bring it in. It's loading it, and what happens and what you'll see is that drawing itself has a lot of blocks that are inside of it. So we have DWGs that are drawing files, and inside the drawing files are blocks. Guys, I could talk for 4 hours plus on just blocks. So this is an introduction to working with them and understanding them for sure. It's important to know. So you can see that I have the floor plan sample file here, but all of these are blocks that are inside that file. So we want to make sure that instead of bringing any of these other blocks in, we're taking this drawing right here, and we're going to hold your left mouse button down on it, pull your mouse out, and let go. Now it doesn't look like anything's been brought into your drawing because we're zoomed down really close. We're only in this small little, I think it's 12 by 9 inches section, and the drawing's way out there somewhere. So double click on the wheel of your mouse or do a zoom extents, and there's the drawing. Now what you'll notice is that the whole thing is all one piece, right? And then there's blocks inside of it. So we'll take a look at that concept. But before we do, there is another way of pulling that drawing in from the palette. Oh, I accidentally brought it in again. And this is good. I'm glad this happened because I had my pointer on it and I must have held it down a little bit too far, and it was bringing the file into it again. And so be careful here, because if you want to redefine the block and you bring in another file with the same name, it will replace it. So I'm going to cancel this. What I wanted to show you here is that you could rest your pointer on this icon, right click and pick insert, so that you have it right there at the end of your pointer. You probably won't see it though because you're zoomed out really far, but that is another way of bringing it in. Now with this option, you have to watch your command line, because your command line is going to ask you for the insertion point, and when you click, you're bringing in that drawing again. So I just wanted to show you different options for bringing in the block. Either hold your left mouse button down and drag it over, or you can right click and use some of these options like inserting it, and then you have more of an insertion point. Did you notice? I want to back up for a minute. I'm going to go ahead and delete this one. I can click on it and pick delete. Notice here when you right click and pick insert with your pointer on that one again, and you move your mouse around, you see where your pointer is compared to this plan? That is actually the original 0, 0. That's the original origin point, which is typically at the bottom left corner of your screen. So you see that that XY down there. If I roll my mouse up a little bit, you see how it comes away from the bottom? That's 0, 0. On all drawings, when you first open up the default drawing, you start a brand new drawing. So this is to show you one of the several things to tell you about blocks. When you're inserting a drawing, the default base point or insertion point is going to be 0, 0. If you click in space someplace and then you double click on the wheel of your mouse or do a zoom extents, which you can also type in Z enter, E enter for zoom extents, you'll be able to see your drawing once you insert it. All right, so that was something to know about, because you might insert a drawing and use the original 0, 0 and not even see it. It might be out in space someplace. So I'm going to go ahead and just cancel out of this because I only really need one. I just escaped out of that. Okay, so like I said, this is the new video, so I'm kind of working as I go, kind of here. So here it is. I have this drawing. I have a whole drawing from the folder somewhere, and I've inserted it into this one. Well, what comes into it? All those layers that were in the original drawing are going to come into this one, and all the blocks that were in the original one are also here. So if I needed to bring in a chair or a door, I could just bring it in right here. Now, the other thing too is that the whole thing becomes a block, and the block is put on the current layer. So right now this is a block and it's on layer 0. As I explode it, I'm going to explode it in the order at which the blocks were created. You don't have to explode a block in order to modify it, and I'm going to show you that now. So here are some topics that I'm picking up. So I don't want to explode it. Let's say I want to keep it all in one piece because it's easier to move it around. It's not necessarily a floor plan. This could be a tool part or any kind of a bolt head or whatever it is. And I'm going to double click. So if I double click on it, I'm going to get this edit block definition. It's going to have all the different blocks, but I want to modify the floor plan block. I'm going to go ahead and pick OK. Now I can close out of this blocks dialog box because I'm not using it. And what we're looking at right here is we're inside the block editor. We have that block that we brought in, and it has all of these objects. So we can edit that file. And we can edit that file. So if you are inside of it, and let's just say, just to make it simple, we don't want this room here. Let's just say I'm going to click in space, pull my mouse across and select it. Here I just clicked and let go, and pull my mouse across and click and let go. Remember we talked about what would happen if you hold your left mouse button down. You have like this kind of crossing here, and then right click and pick erase. So I just modified the plan, this block, and now I can pick the green check mark here at the upper right. It says close block editor, and this is where you have a choice. You can discard the changes or you can save the changes. It's not a link. It's not a link back to the original drawing. So blocks are not links back to the original drawing. That would be a different topic called XREFs. And towards the end of the semester, I'll talk to you about some of the advanced tools that you can use. That an XREF is linked, a block is not. So I'm going to pick save the changes to the floor plan sample. It brings me back out to the drawing, and I've got my change, but more importantly, I still have my block. Now, if there were any other blocks the same name, if I had 100 of these in the drawing, you would be able to change one, and then all of them would change. So that would be an advantage of kind of your updating your blocks. As long as they're the same name, it's going to ask you, are you sure you want to redefine it? And that's what would happen at the beginning there. All right, so now we'll explode it. Just wanted to go through some of these tools with you. The explode icon is right underneath erase there. I'll go ahead and click on explode. I'll select this whole plan, which is block, and then enter. And see how now it has its individual pieces. But if we get closer to, let's say, these cubicles here, you'll see that there are still blocks in here. That chair and those doors, the ones that we saw. And inside those are more blocks. So this one here, let's look at this old monitor. If you look at it, rest your pointer, it's a block, right? But let's explode that one. So we'll pick the explode icon, we'll select this block and enter. And now the whole thing is exploded. Notice that it goes back to, it actually goes back to layer 0. That's kind of why layer 0 is there in a way. Right. That's another topic, but I guess I will introduce it to you. If an object is originally created on layer 0 and you bring it in, it's going to go on whatever layer is current. And then when you explode it, it'll go back to layer 0. If an object is created on a specific layer and you explode it, then all those objects are going to go back to whatever layer they were originally created on. So that's something to think about. I would say stay away from layer 0 until you actually start to create blocks and understand that they can be helpful for creating blocks on that layer, so that when you bring it into a drawing, it's going to be put on that specific layer and stay there, and you probably won't want to explode it, and the colors will change too. Okay, so getting back to what we were doing here, I have a block, and I exploded the whole floor plan, and now I exploded this one, and you see how this one has 2 objects? This one has 1, so now I have another block. I have a block inside of a block inside of a block. So it's important to understand that we do have this going on. You may work with someone else and get their drawing and then not understand what your choices are. You don't have to explode it to modify it, but if you want to explode it to bring it into its own original single objects, then that's a tool that you can use. Okay, there's a whole section about blocks in the book that's an option for you to purchase. It is a book that I'm checking out to see, if it's a good one for us. So far, it's been pretty good. It is in the syllabus there. The book is called Technical Drawing 101 with AutoCAD 2022, and it's SDC. SDC Publications has a lot of AutoCAD books along with other CAD books that seem to, have nice tutorials that go through it. This block, you don't need the book because I'm going to draw it with you, but this section is it looks like it's chapter 9. It has a tub here, just the basic thing that we're going to draw. And the reason that we'll draw this smaller tub is that we're going to create a block out of it. So let's say you have something that's unique that you need to create a block out of. That's what we're going to do. We're just going to draw something real simple here. Before we start drawing, and this is an intro to working with architectural drawings, we have to change the units. If we start drawing right now, this drawing did not change the units yet, and we would only be able to type in decimal. We want to be able to type in feet, which is the apostrophe right next to the enter key there. So the first thing we need to do is type in the word units, UNITS, and enter. When you get this dialog box, the only thing we're changing here is at the top left where it says length type. We want to change that to architectural and then pick OK. That's it. Now, when we draw this rectangle, we'll be able to type in 2'6" for 2'6", or 5' for 5 feet. So you don't need to type in the dash or the inches. In fact, in AutoCAD, you don't have to ever type in the inches when you're drawing. So this is not, the units don't change the dimensions either. So let's keep that in mind. It changes the way that you see it in the command line and the way that you can type it in. So we're drawing a rectangle. I'm actually on page 375, but that's just I'm just using that page to draw this block, so you don't need to pull your books out unless you want to reference that that chapter. So at the top left, I'm going to go ahead and click on rectangle, and down here someplace I'm going to go ahead and click for a first corner, and then in the command line I'm going to go ahead and click on dimensions because I want to be able to say what the dimensions are. And you'll type in 2', which is right next to the enter key, 6. No space, no inches, and enter. That's going to be your length. And then for the width, you're going to type in 5', and enter. You'll see that our little bathtub is so small down here. That last step is going to be to pull your mouse in the direction you want to draw it in and left click. So pull your mouse, I don't care, to the upper right corner and left click. Now that you drew your rectangle, let's zoom down to it. You can use the wheel of your mouse if you'd like to zoom, roll the wheel, and then hold the wheel down to pan to get kind of it in your view here. What they're doing here is using the offset command. So now let's just say this box, before we go further, This box is a polyline because the rectangle is a polyline and not a line. It's all one piece. So when we use the offset command, it's going to clean it up, the corners and everything automatically. We won't have to use the trim or any kind of tool to clean up those corners if they were individual lines. So what I want to show you though is if we go over to utilities at the top right and we go under measure, and 2000 I think 21 or 22 gave us this new quick measure. So I'm going to go ahead and click on quick. If you don't have quick, you can use distance. That'll help you to click 2 points, but I'll go ahead and click on quick. And when you go inside this rectangle, you'll be able to clearly see that you have 2'6" and you have 5. I kind of like that. So now I can escape out of that. Use your escape key to get out of that. And now we'll offset it. Let's offset 4 inches. So here underneath erase and explode, we have offset. Click on offset. This command, when you start the offset command, you read your command line and you type in the distance. You don't start selecting objects, so you type in 4, just 4, and enter. Now I'm going to click on this rectangle as my object and then click inside the rectangle and I've got my offset. You can right click and pick enter or use the... Alright, so when we used offset there of 4, we can see that we create these clean corners. I had to pause the video because my dog was snoring. I hope you didn't pick up any of that in the background. It's funny. So now we have a fillet. We have 4 fillets, but the top ones are bigger than the bottom ones, but we can just do it all at one time, right? So we'll come up to the top here and click on fillet right there, and then come down to the command line and click on multiple, and then click on radius. The first radius is 6, which will be the 2 top ones that are big, so I'll type in 6 and enter. And I'm going to click on this line at the left side and this one at the top. Then I'm going to click on the top one at the top and the one on the right hand side. Now I'm not done yet, right? Because I have another radius of 2 at the bottom, so I'm just going to go back in the same command, click on radius again, type in 2 and enter, and then click on these 2 here and then these 2 here, right? And I think that is our tub. That is the object that we're going to use. We're going to right click and pick escape or use your escape key. So now we're going to create our own block. Imagine that you have something that you've drawn and you didn't see it in your library, or you're creating your own library at work or in your own office. And now we want to start creating blocks and using it for our library. Inside the blocks panel, you can see create right there. Click on create. And basically we're doing 3 things. We're going to define a name, and then we're going to give it a base point. Like, where do we want it to end up on our crosshairs when we bring it back into a drawing. And then we're going to select the objects. So the name of it, you can just type in tub. Easy, right? Tub. And then we want to decide on our base pointer, which is kind of like an insertion point. In fact, if you rest your pointer on this icon right here, it says pick insertion point, insertion base point. So click on the icon right to the left of pick points right there. It should bring you into the drawing. It doesn't really matter. I mean, I think sometimes when we insert this, we want it to be at a corner, right? So I'm just going to click here at the bottom left corner for my base point. It should bring you back to the dialog box. And now we want to select the objects. So click on the icon to the left of here, select objects. And now at this point, we want to just click in space and pull your mouse across so that all of this that you just drew is selected. And then right click, which kind of brings you into an enter. There's your image, and it's going to automatically convert the original drawing to a block. So that's what these three options are. Let's go ahead and pick OK. Now it doesn't look like anything's happened, but when you go close to it, you'll see that the whole thing is all one piece, and it is a block reference. I put it on layer 0 to keep it simple, but it could be on its own layer, furniture, whatever the objects are. It's completely up to you as an option. So now that we have this as our block, let's take a look at inserting it. When you go back to insert and you scroll through these blocks, you'll see that at the bottom there, you'll see tub. There it is. You created it, and you created it inside this file. So it's not yet its own DWG. We'll talk about that a little bit later. So let's go ahead and click on tub and take a look. There it is. It's right there at the insertion point that you created, so that it's exactly the same objects. Let's go ahead and left click, and now it's a block, and now we have more than one block in this drawing. All right, so this was a good point in that we created a block that's inside this file. So now you have these files that have blocks inside of them, and you want to be able to get to those blocks at some point. Maybe, in fact, that's the way that you organize your library. You have that choice. You can organize your library with a bunch of DWG drawing files and then insert them the way that we did, or you can use what's called the Design Center. The Design Center is set up for us to be able to find blocks that are inside other drawing files. We can even insert blocks from there too. Now, I have a quick way of getting the Design Center to show. It's hold your Control key down and press the number 2. So I use Control 2, but I had to look around for it a little bit. It's in the View tab. In the View tab, you have a panel called Palettes, and there's an icon there that's Design Center. So you can click on that icon, or you can hold your Control key down and press number 2. If you hold your Control key down and press number 2, it'll open it and close it. So yours might not look exactly like mine, because this is the folder that I was, in. So in order for all of us to be in the same place, we'll look at a way of changing that. Where I'm at right now is the AutoCAD 2022 under that same sample folder. Instead of database connectivity, I'm under ENUS Design Center. For all of us to be on the same spot, at the very top inside the Design Center, there's a little house icon right there. It looks like a little front facade of the home. Click on that, and what that'll do is it'll bring all of us to this sample folder that's at the bottom right there. So now we can scroll down a little bit, click in front of here ENUS. We can click on that little plus sign there, and then we want to get to the Design Center. So go ahead and click on the plus sign right there. Here's the Design Center. These are DWGs that they've included in the AutoCAD program for us to use as tools. I believe there are tutorials that will bring you through and use these as well. The Design Center, I think, is pretty amazing because you can bring blocks in from other files. So let's go a deeper dive here. We'll go to like House Designer. There's a Home Space Planner and House Designer. Let's go to Home Space Planner. If you click on the little plus sign in front of Home Space Planner, and then you click on blocks, these are all the blocks that are inside that file. And you can see that you can use the Design Center to bring any one of these things from one file to another, which is pretty powerful. So the way to do that is to hold your left mouse button down on any one of these blocks, drag that block into your drawing, and just go ahead and put it right here next to the tub somewhere. We can always move them around. You can pick up these palettes and kind of move them around. They want to like dock to the side, so be careful there, because palettes, these are palettes. If you bring it too far over, it's going to dock, right? And then you can hold your left mouse button down and kind of bring it back out. So what we want to do is just pick up a couple of these. It doesn't matter which ones, and just go ahead and put them here close to your original tub there. The object snaps might pull you in a different place, but if you get closer to it, then you can put it right next to it. Let's go into the House Designer and click on blocks, and in fact there's a tub that's different. You can bring that one in if you want, or any one of these. Not, you don't have to, everyone's drawing is going to be unique, so just keep them all fairly close to the tub because we'll be working with that a little bit. All right. There's another drawing here about this kitchens. We could maybe bring in something for the kitchen. And the landscaping blocks. Keep in mind that everything is drawn at full scale. So if I bring in the swimming pool, it's going to be bigger, right? A little bit bigger than the rest of them. And we're working with the plan view, so it doesn't make sense to bring in any kind of like this side view of a bench. Well, good if you're creating that view. So all of these files that are given to us in all of the releases of AutoCAD back to a certain point are underneath Design Center here in that sample folder. Okay. So we're dragging them out. They're going on the current layer, whatever the current layer is. They are blocks here themselves. And just want to mention that this Design Center is based on your network system. So if you work with a company that's networked and you're working off of with other people, you could access their files here, see what kind of blocks they have, borrow them. They wouldn't even know. That's kind of like the way of working together, right? So if you're working together on a team and someone just created a block, you can use the Design Center to go in and use it on your drawing, right? So some companies have decided to create drawings that have all the blocks. So it would just be like this. It would be a drawing called fasteners, and then just put all the fasteners in there. And then that whole drawing is filled with all the fasteners that you would need. You can either use the Design Center or you can insert the whole drawing. So this is kind of like the two things to think of when you're thinking bigger picture. You can bring a one DWG drawing into another, which is what we did with the floor plan, or you can use the Design Center to either pick up that same floor plan or then bring in those nested blocks that are inside the file. All right, let's go ahead and close out of the Design Center here and take a look at something else. When you bring these blocks in, they are all one piece, so it makes it easier for us to select, right? So click on any one of these blocks and notice that there is just one grip, that blue grip there. So you can actually use that insertion point, that blue box or that grip, to your advantage. I'm going to use a different object here. So let's say this bed. You can use whatever object you want, and in fact, I would like you to have different objects in here when you submit this file so that everyone has, their own unique drawing that they've worked on. So here, when you click on the bed or whatever the object is, click inside the blue box, and then that becomes an insertion point. You can right click and use move, rotate, mirror, scale. I use this for rotate and mirror a lot. It's kind of like a quick way to rotate. So I'm going to go right click and rotate. And then when you move your mouse around, you see how it kind of like rotates to whatever direction you want. You can pull your mouse up and click. Now, of course, you can use the regular rotate command to rotate it as well. But this becomes kind of like a fast way to mirror it, rotate it, and work with it. So that's one thing. So what happens when you've got all these different blocks that are inside this drawing, and you want to start to create DWGs from those drawings? You want to create or pull one of those out. You want to pull one of these, a combination of objects out, and copy it into its own drawing file. You could either do like a save as and have two files and then just delete the rest of this, or there is a command called WBlock that if we go to the insert here tab and we go over to underneath create block there, you'll see write block. It's been called WBlock for so long because you type it in WBlock. So what we're doing here is we're going to select objects to kind of convert them into a drawing file. So I can go ahead and click right block. And now this dialog box looks very similar to what we had before. Some people will take the entire drawing, and it's not something I've done in a really long time because it's not something we need to do, but taking the entire drawing kind of like cleans up the drawing. But we have a command called purge. So we're going to use the default which is objects. So again, we can click a base point. We're going to go ahead and grab whatever these are here. So click a base, click the icon where it says pick points. I'm just going to click someplace over here within this cluster of blocks, and then I'm going to click on select objects right here and select all of these objects that we inserted right here. So we're creating a block of blocks, right? And enter. And now this is the difference. The difference is here that I can create a path for it. So click on that little icon with the 3 little dots right there, and then navigate over to the folder that you want to save it in here, and call it your name, an initial, new block. So mine's going to be Janice G, new block. So you type in your name, initial, new block, DWG, put it in the folder that you're putting all your other drawings in. But more importantly, you can see that what we're doing here is that we're creating a DWG from objects of a drawing. So this is one of the first things I did when I started my own office years ago. I created several of these. I brought in other ones, and then I just started creating and working with establishing a really good library of things that I use over and over again. And then as I'm working, if there's something unique that I'm drawing, I'll create another block of it and put it in that folder. Okay, so when you submit your files, you're going to submit your assignment file plus this new block DWG so that I can see that you made changes to the assignment file, and also you created this W block. I'm going to go ahead and pick save and then pick OK. And now because the original objects were retained, because when we went back into right block, you see this default? The default was retaining the original objects. All of those original objects are retained, but now it becomes the DWG. We're going to bring it back into this drawing. Let's go to insert, and because when you create this block you put it in its own DWG, it's not inside this file yet. So we're going to go to blocks from file, or blocks from libraries, blocks from libraries, and click on this icon right here. Or like we said, we could go into this drop down and pick browse block libraries. Navigate over to where you put that folder, that file that we just created, that W block right there, that new block, and bring it into the drawing. And what it does is, this is new to 2022, I think 21 or 22. It takes a minute for it to load. It's actually making it a block that's inside the file now, and there it is. So now I can drag it out into my drawing. You can see that the insertion point is really close to my pointer, so it's like in the middle of it, and set it right next to it, and there it is. So there it is. When I click on it, there's my insertion point that I created, and this one is separate and this one is all one piece. Alright, so now you not only have it as a drawing file in your folder, but you also have it in the Design Center and a part of one of those nested blocks that are inside your file. Alright, let's go ahead and close out of this here. I just want to mention to you that creating attribute blocks is a huge topic that's very advanced, and I don't have enough time in this video to work with it, but I will explain it to you. We can set up text strings to be attribute blocks, so that when you insert the block, we're creating like a dialog box to fill out. You'll see this a lot of times in title blocks, like the information of the sheet number and who drew it. What it basically is a database of text that's within the block. Instead of trying to edit each one of the text strings, you are creating your own dialog box based on those blocks. Okay, and in the sample file folder, there are some files that have those attribute blocks. You can go open up and check it out. So this week we introduced blocks and talked about all that happens when you create them and you insert them, and working with them to edit it. Just keep in mind that the insertion point is 0,0. You do have an option down here to underneath block to set a different base point. It doesn't destroy the 00 of the drawing, but it does help you with inserting the blocks if you wanted a different insertion point. And also, when you bring those drawings in, you get all the layers. When you explode it, it goes off that current layer that you had. So when you have your current layer and you bring in your block, the whole block goes on the current layer, and then when you explode it, the objects go back to whatever layer they were created on. Also, I'm going to type in D and enter to show you that you will also get any dimension styles or text styles or anything that came with that drawing. So this was a part of that drawing that we inserted, and that kind of comes with it so that you can use it. All right then, hope that helps you to understand blocks, and we'll take a look at using them as we move forward. But understanding them and submitting this file, so I can see that you deleted this and you exploded this one and you created all of this based on the video to move forward and learn more about AutoCAD. All right then, have a good one. And don't hesitate to ask questions if you have any, or if you need help.